Sometimes what's a really good idea when designing a form is to replace some of these fields with what they call combo boxes. By just leaving a field, the person is expected to know what to type, and they may not type what you want them to type, or they may make spelling mistakes. So instead what we do is we give them a combo box, otherwise known as a drop-down box, and they can choose a particular entry rather than have to type it. So what I'd like to do is let's get rid of term. I'm going to click on term and press the delete key on my keyboard because I want to make term a combo box. So I'll delete that field and the label goes with it. And I'm going to insert a combo box from the design tab in the ribbon. Now before I insert a combo box, which is this little guy here, I'm just going to hit the more button and make sure that my control wizards are turned on. And I can see that my control wizards are turned on because the little icon is lit up. So make sure use control wizards is on and then hit the combo box button and then click somewhere on your form. And this automatically starts the combo box wizard because the control wizards are on. Now there's three ways to make a combo box. You can make a combo box get its values from another table, which we'll look at shortly. You can also make a combo box that finds a record, but I want to start with this middle option. I will type in the values that I want to appear in the combo box. So I'll choose this middle option and go next. Underneath the heading col1, I'll click and I'll type the value 1, down arrow 2, down arrow 3, down arrow 4. There are effectively 4 terms and I want them to choose 1, 2, 3 or 4, and I don't want them to type anything else. So I'll choose next. I can remember this value for later use, but I'd rather store the value that they enter, whether that's 1, 2, 3 or 4, in a field. So I'll choose this option and I'll tell it to store the value they enter in the field called term. And next to that. And then I'll give the combo box a label, so I'll just call it term. And finish. And here's my term combo box. Now I might just click on one of these fields and use the format painter on my format tab to give it the look I'm after. Here we go. Now I'll just test that it's actually working. So if I go to the Home tab and switch to Form View, I can check that if they hit the drop down, they've now got a combo box where they can choose 1, 2, 3 or 4. Now I want to make sure that they don't enter anything other than what's in that list. So I need to go back to the design of my form, Design View. And I'll click on term and I'll look at its properties. Notice now you must be getting the idea that everything has properties. The form has properties, the form header has properties, the page header has its properties, the detail section has its properties, and even fields have their own properties. So this combo box is called Combo 26. Now I'm just going to roll right up to the top of the properties and give it a proper name, and that's term. I also want to make sure that they don't enter anything other than what's in the list. So I want to limit them to the list. So I need to find a property limit to list. Now if I look under data, here it is here, limit to list, and it's on no. If I actually click on that and look in the bottom left of my screen, it says accept text only if it matches one of the listed choices. And I've got no, so they can enter anything that they want instead of selecting. I'm going to double click limit to list and set it to yes. Now they have to choose a 1, 2, 3 or 4. Notice also while I'm looking at this property, further up is the row source property and the row source type as well. The row source type is a value list. That is, I type the values that I wanted to appear in that combo box. And if it happens to be that we now have a 5th term, this is where I go into this particular property and follow the pattern semicolon 5. And that would allow me to have 5 terms instead of 4. So if you need to update the items in that combo box and it's a value list, just follow the format that's there. Now let's have a look. If I go back to viewing the form, I should have now 5 terms and I shouldn't be able to enter anything except 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. So I'm going to view the form. If I hit the drop down, I can see my 5, and if I try to enter term 6, as soon as I go tab, the text you've entered isn't an item in the list. Do you want to edit the items in the list? So I can actually change it, alright, or I can go no. So as soon as I go tab, I'll say no and choose, say, term 1 again. Alright, let's go back to the design of the form and make some more combo boxes. So let's go back to design view. The instructor ID, I don't want them to have to remember or to know or to find out what ID each instructor has. The instructors are in the table called TBL instructor, and I really want this combo box to get its values from this table. So I'm going to delete the instructor ID field just by clicking on it and pressing the delete key, and I'm going to go up to my controls and choose combo box again. And if I click combo box and I click on a blank area, I'll now choose the option which is listed first. I want the combo box to get its values from another table or query, and I'll choose next. I want it to get the list of instructors from the table instructor, and next. And here I decide what fields I want to show in my combo box, because you can have more than one. So I want the instructor ID to be sent across, the instructor to be sent across, and the phone number. I don't need the extension. So this combo box is going to show more than one column of information. So I'll go next. I'd like the data to be sorted by the instructor's name. So I choose this instructor and I want it sorted in ascending order. But if I want a descending, I just click this button. So it's going to sort the instructors in ascending order A to Z, and next. This is what the user will actually see, and it's actually hiding the instructor ID column, because if I untick this option, the instructor ID shows. Now I want the instructor ID to ultimately be stored in the field, but I don't want the user to see it because it means nothing to them, so I'll re-hide it. And if I'd like to, I can actually widen that column just in case in future I get an instructor with a rather long name. And I'll choose next. I'd like to store the value that they choose in the instructor ID field. So even though the instructor ID is hidden, I want whatever instructor ID they choose to be stored in the field instructor ID, and next. And this is where I then give it a label, and I'll just call it instructor, and finish. Here is my drop down here, and I might click on term, and using the format and format painter, I'll quickly format that to match the others. Now I just want to check it's actually working. If I go to home and I go to view, form view, I can see I now have an instructor. And instead of seeing just 3, I see that that's Martin. And if I hit the drop down, I can see all my 5 instructors. It'd be nice to have a label at the top of each column too, so they knew what this information was. I also want to limit them to the list and just explore the properties associated with this combo box. So let's go back to form design. So design view, and click on instructor ID to see its properties. Now if I want to see column headings, then I need to set the column headings to yes, and I think that you'll find that under format. If I go to format, here's column heads and it's set to no. I'm going to double click column heads and set it to yes. It tells me there are 3 columns in this combo box, but the first column, instructor ID, is 0 centimeters wide, so we don't see it. The second column, which we do see, is 3.731 centimeters wide, and the last column is 2.54 centimeters. So you can change the width there. And the width of the entire combo box, that is the sum of those values there, is 6.27. And the most number of rows that will list in the combo box is 16. So after seeing 16 listed items, they'll start to have to scroll. So you can change these things if you need to. But if I go back to data, this is not a value list. This is actually a row source that's actually a select statement. And if I click on that select statement and hit the little build button, I can actually see what controls the data that's seen in the combo box. So here's my instructor ID, my instructor, my phone number, the 3 fields I chose, and it's sorted in ascending order by instructor. And if I want to close out of here, I'll just hit the close button and it'll return me to my form. Limit to list is by default on yes, so that's good. They can't enter anything but what's in the list. But let's go and check the form view and just check that the column headings are showing. So if I go to form view and I hit the drop down again, here's my column headings set to yes, so I can see that's the instructor and that's their phone number. So that's a combo box that gets its values from another table, and that's a combo box term that we type the values we wanted. Let's create a third combo box. I want to create a combo box to help the person easily find a class instead of having to navigate through the records using the navigation buttons. So I'm going back to the design of my form using design view. And I'm going back to my combo box control up here in my ribbon. I'll click and then I'll click, And this time I want to choose the third and final option, which is to find a record on my form based on a value I select in my combo box. So I'll choose this and choose Next. At this point, I send across the information I want them to see in the combo box. So I'll send across class ID and class name. I could send across more if I wanted to, but that's probably sufficient. And I'll go Next. I need to hide the key column because it means nothing to them, but if I unhide it, you can see it's class ID that's actually stored in the first column. And I'll widen this column so that they can clearly see the class names. And I'll hit Next. And I'll give it a label. Find a class by name. And I'll hit Finish. I'll then click on Instructor ID because I need that look painted onto this. So I'll go to Format, to the Format Painter, and click on Unbound. Now this particular field should probably sit up here in the form header, so it's always available. And I'm just going to resize it and make it look appropriate. Now let's just test that this works. I'm going to go to the Home tab and go to my Form View. If I need to find the class Quantum Science, I'll hit the drop down and I'll choose Quantum Science, and that takes me straight to Record 4. So now I can find a class by name rather than have to scroll between all the records. I can go to Relational Database Design, Record 3, and I can go back to Great Works, Record 1. So a combo box is very good for finding a record. It's very good for entering values. But if you've got a large list of values and they're constantly changing, then make your combo box get its values from a table or a query. I'm now just going to take a moment to tidy this up. So I'll go back to Form Design or Design View, and I'll put Term where it should be. And I'll move things around a little bit, so just bear with me for a moment while you watch how I tidy things up as quickly as possible. Now I just need to check also that my tab order is correct, because I suspect, because of the changes in this area here, that my tab order is out of whack. So I'm just going to right click, choose tab order and check it. Class name first, then term. I can assume that Combo 28 is Instructor ID, which I need to go back and correct, but I will put that, given I know what it is, under year. And the rest of it is fine. I'll go OK, and while I'm at it, I'll click on this particular field, go to its properties, get right to the top of all, and give it the name Instructor ID. I'll just save my form and just check that everything correctly tabs, and I'm happy. Save the form, done.